Political binaries that came to inform Indian politics. The binary choice from President George W. Bush with us or against us came to inform several subtexts in domestic politics. 9/11 also fanned an aggressive nationalism and the yearning for strong leader. 117 Indian nationals, all persons of Indian origin, were killed in the terrorist attacks on September 2001. In the years that followed, long shadow of the attacks touched the lives of very large number of people in this country and left a prominent signature on its domestic politics. The 9/11 attacks lent global credibility to the concerns long expressed by India about cross-border terror. The attacks made it easier for the Indian state to jettison the remnants of its Cold War mindset and to be unapologetic about moving closer to the US. Internally, the political fault lines that emerge as part of the complex social consequences of the attacks have continued to shape Indian politics in direct and indirect ways. Some of the most commonly articulated binaries of the last 2 decades, secularism, pseudo-secularism, alleged vote bank politics, jihadist terror, radical Hindutva national, anti-national, have been informed by assumptions born out of global Islamophobia and the clamor around the world for strong or tough government policy post 9/11. The insecurity and anxieties triggered by Islamist terrorism fed into a reactionary jingoistic nationalism and made Hindutva rhetoric of the BJP more appealing to more people. They helped boost politicians such as Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, who would use this launchpad to spectacular effect and eventually reshape domestic politics. The most overt imprint of 9/11 was seen in the enactment and use of anti-terror laws such as Prevention of Terrorism Act (POTA), Gujarat Control of Organized Crime Act (GUSCOCA), and National Investigation Agency Act and amendments in the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act (UPA) over the last 2 decades. POTA, India's version of the USA Patriot Act 2001, was passed in March 2002 in the aftermath of the attacks in the US and on Parliament on December 13, 2001. The Congress and its allies who were critical of the harsh provisions of the bill ensured its defeat in Rajya Sabha where they were in majority. The government of Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee then took the rare step of getting the bill passed in a joint sitting of Parliament. The law was repealed within months of the Congress-led UPA coming to power in 2004. Meanwhile, the government of then Chief Minister Modi had introduced the Gosco Bill in the Assembly in 2003, drawing from POTA and the Maharashtra Control of Organized Crime Act 1999, but President APJ Abdul Kalam withheld his assent and his successor Pratibha Patel and Pranab Mukherjee sent the bill back to the Gujarat Assembly. It wasn't until 2019 with Ramnath Kovind, the BJP's own man, in Rashtrapati Bhavan that the law with some key changes came into force. Amit Shah, who had piloted the bill in Gujarat as junior Home Minister after it was rejected by the President in 2009, is now Union Home Minister. Through this period, the BJP underlined the seeming binary of its own muscular nationalism and patriotism versus alleged political appeasement of Muslims by the Congress, which it was suggested extended to a softness or approach towards Islamist terror. So when Congress President Sonia Gandhi referred to Maut Ke Saudagar during the Gujarat election campaigning of 2007, Modi hit back with barbs on the delay in hanging Afzal Guru, who had been convicted under POTA for his role in the 2001 Parliament attack case. Soni Bain, if you cannot hang Afzal, hand him over to Gujarat. We will hang him. Modi taunted her, turning his provincial election campaigning into a virtually a national ideological battle. Battered politically by a string of corruption scandals, the UPA government did hang Afzal Guru less than a year before the 2014 elections, but the BJP had by then seized the initiative on the national security issue. Earlier worried about the political fallout from the attacks on Mumbai in November 2008, the UPA government had amended the UPA and constituted the NIA, drawing from the same POTA provisions that it had repealed in 2004. Only months before the 2611 attacks in the Union, Home Minister had filed an affidavit in the Gujarat High Court justifying the refusal to grant consent to the Gosco Bill. The current government has used the laws enacted by the UPA after the repeal of POTA to prosecute 16 accused in the Bhima Koregaon case. The judicial reference towards the executive that is built into these laws has meant there is little reprieve to the accused irrespective of their age, gender, or medical conditions. The Hindutva politics of the Ram temple and the political counter to the alleged appeasement of minorities which propelled the BJP under Vajpayee and LK Advani had its limitation. These were exposed in 2004 Lok Sabha elections that followed the political polarization after the 2002 Gujarat riots. The series of terror attacks across the country during the Vajpayee and Manmohan Singh government added to the national anxiety. The global post 9/11 Islamophobia had an India chapter. There was also a feeling that governments needed to be tougher on terror. In his autobiography My Country, My Life, released ahead of the elections of 2008, Advani wrote, "No faith condones the killing of innocent persons and therefore terrorists have no religion." Nevertheless, it is also an irrefutable fact that one of the most virulent forms of terrorism in our time seeks the cover of Islam. The ideological basis of terrorism in India and has been unmistakably anti-national in its intent and pan-Islamic in its appeal. Thank you.